or a porter or something like that, or a stout, a honey porter, for example. Imagine like a nice, a porter braggot, for example.
Mm-hmm.
You're really not going to want any Belgian characteristic in that, so using, 1388 is not the way to go. I mean, listen, if you're a home brewer and you're making it for yourself, screw it, do whatever you want. If you're entering into competitions as a braggot and you have to mention that beer style, then you want to pay more attention to what yeast strain you use. And when you consider using a beer yeast to get that to go with the beer style that you're basing that braggot off of, then you're also going to have to consider: is it going to have is it going to have a better outcome fermenting more malt than honey, or the other way around? But there's a lot of things to consider, Yeah. And these are all the things that I talked about with fermented brewing and whatnot. These were my concerns. He had his concerns, and we kind of put our heads together, and that's how we came up with the recipe.
Nice. David puts in that for his Braggamels, is what he's calling them. He brews specialty grains, and then he adds water and honey to specific gravity of 1.050. No hops in the ones he's made so far, but he thinks he's going to add some Hallertau, to the next one.
It's a nice German hop. Yeah.
On the end of that. Hallertau.
That was my favorite hop when I was brewing beer. Yeah. I love it. Yeah.
So on the commercial scene, nobody can make an actual 51% honey braggot because a winery can't use malt, and a brewery can't use less than 50% of malt.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
So neither a brewery or a winery can't make it. The only type of alcohol producer that technically could ferment a braggot is a distillery, but they have to distill it though.
Okay. So if
but nobody can officially release an actual more honey-based braggot, though.
Yeah. Well, don't you have to also have, if you're going to do something, even a crossover beverage like this, you have to have separate facilities and a separate license, right?
No, that's...
Is that so,
on the brewery... No, that's federal. If you want to make wine, you need a winery license. If you want to make beer, you need a brewery license. Technically, honey is considered an allowable fermentable in a brewery, but in a winery, you can't have any kind of malt any kind of malted product at all on the premise. So
a brewery can do it, but a winery can't.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. Winery can't have any malted product, so they can't make a braggot. Period. In a brewery, you can't ferment something that's more of any other fermentable other than malt.
So basically, because I know that there's meaderies who are also doing braggots, and some of them even distilling. But as far as I know,
they have a brewery
separate license. Yeah, exactly. A full separate location too, isn't it?
You could. Well, it doesn't have to be a separate physical location. It could be under the same roof. It just has to be separated. The different bonded premises or licensed premises has to be separated by either. I think state by state changes. Federally, as long as it's separated by like a solid wall or even a fence, to be honest, would work. I've heard some states being able to actually literally put a piece of tape down the floor of what separates the winery from the brewery premise. I think it's going to vary from state to state. It's so stupid, but
I'm on the East Bank. I'm on the West Bank.
Yeah.
Well, here it actually has to be. They have to have separate. It's got to be a full wall and separate exits from the building.
Yeah, same here in New Jersey. If I wanted to have a brewery and a winery / meadery, whatever, basically I would have to put up some kind of like permanent divider between the two facilities. And each side would have to have its own entrance and exit, its own tasting room.
Yeah.
So incidentally, I am in the process of possibly looking into opening a brewery, and I'm trying to find a space, which I'm actually going to look at a few spaces on Thursday.
Cool.
actually put the meadery and brewery under the same roof. But again, I would have to keep everything separate entrance, separate exit, separate loading dock, everything, separate tasting rooms. Everything has to be separate.
So essentially, two separate spaces, and the only reason they're in the same building is because they share a roof.
Pretty much.
And a floor.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, well, that makes sense. And I believe that you're right. That is different from state to state, because I know some places it's a lot less restricted. David Webb asked an interesting question. He says, is a mead with hops but no malt considered a braggot? He has seen that in some definitions.
No.
I have, too. And it's always
I
interesting that some people define it that way.
Viking blood.
No, I wouldn't. I mean... Yeah, I wouldn't consider. Viking's Blood is basically a viscous mead with hops and something else, whatever it is.
Mead of what is it? David at Redstone does a hopped mead. Well, there's actually several hop meads out there now.
Yeah, I don't. Me personally, I consider that a hopped mead. If it doesn't have any malt at all, especially. I don't consider it a braggot. I don't know. In my book, and it's such a loose term. It really is. Mead itself is so, unheard of in the general public that even the term braggot is even looser, even more unknown. But in my opinion, if it doesn't represent a beer style, or at least comes close to representing somewhat of a beer somewhere in that character, I don't consider it a braggot.
Yeah, well, BJCP says that it has to have both honey and basically it's a mead made with malt, and period. That's what they say. They don't say anything about hops. So hopped meads, at this point in time, categorically speaking, fall into the Weird Miller open category.
Yeah, to me, it's like, exactly. That would be a hopped mead.
It's a metheglin.
I mean, in a beer without malt and just hops is a tea. It's not really beer.
And would piss off a whole lot of Germans. Who have rules about these things.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. But and then also another way to go around it on the homebrew side, it would work. On the commercial side, it's not possible. But you can also ferment a beer and ferment a mead separately, and then blend the two to whatever proportion you feel it's your sweet spot that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Commercially, that's not possible because you can't blend two different classes of alcohol, beer and wine, together. But not even on the brewing side, the brewery side. But on a homebrew scale, I've done it. I've made, I've actually started brewing like little mini batches just for us to drink at the brewery here and there, of beer. But I poured a glass of like a really nice London porter, and then, topped it off with a traditional wildflower honey mead, and I'm like, wow, that's fucking awesome.
We do that with cider.
It could be very good. Oh yeah. Well, what's the word? Well, when you ferment malt and cider, it's a grass. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that, but that's pretty interesting. Cider and wort fermented together. I think somebody got out of some Stephen King book that talked about like an apple beer or something, and somebody ended up
I've done that.
creating it, and they called it a grass.
Tower series. I seem to remember coming across that and going, "Ooh, that sounds interesting." Joel Robinson, Hames mate from Australia, says, "You guys should move to Australia. We apply for a producer wholesale license with the state, and that allows us to make mead, beer, cider, or wine on the same premise. The only difference would be then the tax they pay, excise versus wine, equalization tax." It's just like we all need to move to Australia.
Oh wow.
I did tell Sergio the other day that there's a good place here that if he was looking for properties.
Hey, you can't have him. He's ours. You can't have him.
Yeah.
He was whinging about the commute.
Yeah, I'm sure he was. Yeah, come on. Don't you have direct flights from, like one of the airlines around there?
Oh, yeah. No, I definitely got to make it down to Australia. That's on my bucket list.
Yeah, me too. I said I've got a reciprocal deal going with him. He's coming over to the States for the Mazer Cup, and his lovely wife is giving him tickets to the States for his birthday. So we're doing that, and then me and him shuttling down the coast with my husband in our RV, and we're going to hit 2 or 3 places, and we're going to pick up Manny in Miami, and then Miami. There's a Y in the middle of that. And then we're going to pick up Manny in Miami, and then we're going to head on down the Keys and just kind of, down to Key West, and then pop back up and drop Haim off in Miami to kind of hang out for a little while. And then this is all going to happen after the Mazer Cup, so.
Get ready for the humidity. Go. Oh, man. But, yeah, no, it's, definitely come by and say hi. I'll be at the Mazer Cup again next year.
Yeah, I'll make sure he sees you. Don't worry. I'm going to be.
I'll be doing that.
I'm going to be him and Manny. Are you coming?
It's a 50-50 right now. We'll see.
Okay, that's right. You got another trip, and I'm trying to lure AJ out of Canada by trying to find ways to cover as much of her costs as possible so that we can get her down there. But yeah, with any luck at all, at least some of the Got Mead crew will be there, and we're gonna like take the place by storm. So I'll make sure that they meet.
I'll make sure you guys. I'll make sure you guys are invited to the hotel parties that we have.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We
yes,
have some
please.
Parties.
I have really good stories, but it has to be told off air.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Oh yeah, the parties at the Mazer Cup are epic. They really are. That's why I never do a Got Mead show after or anything else for like 3 or 4 days after the Mazer Cup, because I literally have no voice left. None. I mean, I can't even squeak. I mean, it's like, completely gone. Because there's thumping music and hundreds of people in tiny little rooms, and and it's like it's fun. When we were at the old hotel, because we more or less owned the place during the Mazer Cup, we literally would spill out onto the grounds. I mean, we'd be getting phone calls from the owner who lived across the street going, "I can hear y'all in my apartment, and I love you, but you got to tone it down or the cops are going to come. I just wanted to let you know." I was like...
No, this past year was pretty funny. I mean, we were the hotel staff came to the room the last night, and this was after the mead mixer and everything. So, no, not after the mead mixer, after the ceremony. And it was like the last night that most of us were all there before we left the next day, and I think, in a pretty small hotel room, there was a good, 30-something people in there. And the hotel staff just came to the door, a good 3 times, and because of noise complaints. And then I forgot who it was, but they just kind of, broke it down to the hotel staff and said, "Listen, if you guys kick us out of this room, we're just going to go to somebody else's room on another floor. And if you kick us out of that one, we're just going to go to somebody else's room."
There's parties everywhere.
Long story short,
so why don't you just tell us where you don't have anybody, and we'll go there.
Yeah. Well, they basically just we just negotiated with them to literally just give us reign over the stairs, and they were like, "Listen, as long as you guys clean up after yourselves, you can hang out in the lobby as long as you want."
Yeah.
So that worked out.
We've got an official space for that on Wednesday night this coming year. So, in fact, I got to pull together all the last bits of details about that. If you got time later this week, you and I need to talk. I want to bounce some stuff off of you for that. But
all right, cool.
Yeah. So everybody out there is going, "What the hell are they talking about?" You'll find out soon enough.
Yeah. Very, very cool.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very cool. If you can make the Mazer Cup in 2017, you really, really want to go. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
And we're just talking about the after party.
I know, right? Yeah, that's not even including the after parties. We got other stuff that we're going to do. So, but yeah, this is all too cool. So I'm tickled. I'm going to have to get my hands on some of that Braggot and give it a shot. It sounds interesting.
Yeah. I'm gonna get a Pilsner extract kit and make that, and then add honey to it. That's what I'm gonna do.
Hey, you can do it.
Yeah.
Totally. Those are just some ideas and tips for making an actual good final product, in my opinion. But not to say that more of a mead-based Braggot won't work. I wonder what I never tasted any of Rabbit's Foot's Braggot, but
Diablo's good.
If you make so all right, perfect example. Rabbit's Foot is Rabbit's Foot makes some, from what I hear, some excellent braggots, right, and excellent meads.